Produced by the Cleveland Sound Radio Network. Here is the This Is Awesome Wrestling Show, hosted by Glenn Moore and Steve Guy.
Roll the dice, play your cards, break the rules, that's who you are. Whoever said play it safe, never played the game. So many players, but too many pawns, too many judges say what's right or wrong. Let them jump into the fire if they want to play. Oh, 'cause it's a deadly game that we play as we live. Deadly games when we say what is on our minds. Play it now before the game.
With Steve and I on different schedules, we're going to go to our third co-host here. This is Awesome Wrestling Show. He's been on the show a few times. He's used to being on the leather couch, but he's in the captain's chair in our new studio. We call this the Purple Room here at Sealy Sound Studios in Lakewood, Ohio. AIW founder, correct?
Correct.
You are the main guy, the man with many hats at AIW, Mr. John Thorne. John, thank you for coming in on late notice to fill in for Steve this week.
I feel like this is what it feels like to be a doctor. I got paged late last night in need of a co-host. I needed to stand in for my friend Steve Guy, so here I am to save the day.
So we're going to talk a lot. We may not do that much of an in-depth Raw recap as John's here from AIW.
I watched part of the shortened Hulu Plus version of Raw just to do my homework and take my job as a podcast co-host seriously.
Well, we want to talk about you, buddy, because you have a very, very busy schedule coming up these next 2 months. The holiday season is upon us. Thanksgiving around the corner. Christmas is coming up. And you have basically, 3 shows in the next 5 weeks, I want to say.
Holiday season is a perfect time to commit suicide.
And you have some big names coming here to Cleveland. Yesterday, Cleveland scene put it out there. It's all people have been talking about it. It's on Facebook, Twitter, talking about Razor Ramon, Scott Hall coming to Cleveland, coming to AIW next month, and it's going to be a huge show just for Scott Hall to be in town here in Cleveland. And first, I mean, it's why Scott Hall? Because I know you have your pick of all these old time wrestlers are looking to travel the indie scene, but why Scott Hall and why for this time right now?
I mean, Scott Hall, Razor Ramon, I think, is like the number one guy from my childhood. He's been that guy that I've always wanted to book. But, you know, there's been, you know, times where Scott was somebody that you wouldn't want to rely on to book. There's been, you know, there's been times where I wanted to book Scott Hall and we just financially couldn't do it because, listen, Scott Hall is a huge star. And he demands a huge booking fee, which is something, you know, even probably a year ago that we wouldn't even have considered gambling with. But, you know, we've seen quite a bit of growth and quite a bit of new support in the year of 2015. So basically, honestly, it was just like, fuck it, man. Let's book Scott Hall.
Now, Scott Hall has had some recent troubles. With being sober, some relapses. You know, he was with DDP and his DDP yoga house, getting better. I saw him at WrestleMania 30 in 2014. Looked great. Wasn't drinking at the after party. He looked healthy. I think there was a relapse, some reported relapse allegedly. And as a promoter, you're throwing a lot of money at this guy. I'm sure there's a big deposit too for him.
50% deposit up front.
Up front right now. There's a month before the show. Obviously, you can go through the correct channels to dispute and get your money back, but I mean, you're still throwing $1,500 at Scott Hall. I mean, as a promoter, are you sweating bullets because hoping that he stays the way he is right now for the month till he comes here to Cleveland?
Listen, I will give Scott Hall a lot of credit because Scott Hall at least understands how to use PayPal. He's not like Vader, who requested that we mail him cash hidden inside of magazines, FedExed overnight. So I will think Scott Hall, already is a little bit more up and up than the man from the Rocky Mountains. But am I worried? Not really, to be honest, because you run the risk of a wrestler not showing up or something going wrong in their personal lives every time you book them. It's not like I have a pending contract with anybody.
Right.
I can't. It's verbal contracts, but there's nothing in writing that says, hey, you must come to my show. I've had people no-show me for far less money and for far, like unreasonable reasons. It's a gamble you take as an independent promoter because, there's no legally binding, contract that, says somebody has to fulfill this booking. So, no, I'm really not worried. Scott Hall is, no different than booking, Johnny Gargano or Davey Vega or Gregory Yarn. They've all been given the date. They've all agreed to the date. They said they're available and they'll be there. So, I don't think Scott Hall is any different. He's agreed to come in, 24 hours before the event and do some media if we could set that up for him locally. So, so far everything's been great dealing with Scott Hall. I'm, personally looking forward to it from just, a 8-year-old mark out, whatever you want to call it. Like, Razor Ramon is the guy that probably defines, so many people's childhoods because he was, that guy that, what did it show up in 1991 or 1992, like for, people that are in their late 20s, early 30s, that's like the perfect pro wrestling era. So, for me, I think there's not a lot of guys with the star power and, the name value still out there like Scott Hall. He's one of the few guys that, outside of, you can't really book Hulk Hogan for an independent event, but Scott Hall was the catalyst for what became the most popular time in professional wrestling. When he showed up in WCW, that sparked the whole, late 90s wrestling boom that, just think about it. Probably when you were in high school, that's when wrestling was, everyone thought wrestling was cool,
Oh, definitely.
And, Scott Hall, maybe it's, a little crazy to say, but, without Scott Hall, we might not have seen a Stone Cold Steve Austin or a Degeneration X or a Goldberg, who knows what would have happened. So, to be able to book somebody with so much historical value for, the whole professional wrestling as a whole is amazing. I just, for me personally, I'm looking forward to just being able to sit down and talk to the guy, and just hear what he has to say, listen to stories. I mean, this guy has seen and done it all, and to be able to bring him to Cleveland and like, I thought for Terry Funk would have been, that was like the ultimate end all be all for me. But Terry Funk is kind of he's kind of a niche guy. He was kind of an underground, he had bits of mainstream success here and there, but Terry Funk prides himself on, he was a freelancer. He was a guy that, traveled the world and, did things on his own. So, as important as a guy like Terry Funk was for me, he didn't necessarily have the overall mainstream appeal as somebody like Scott Hall. For instance, Scene Magazine released a story on Scott Hall, and it got shared nearly 1,000 times within 24 hours on Facebook. I just got an alert before I got here that 536 people are currently talking about Scott Hall coming to AIW on Facebook right now in the Cleveland area. So it's crazy to me that I can book somebody that can cause so much talk, so much chatter just locally in Cleveland. I think that's an amazing thing, and that's all because of Scott Hall.
And it's amazing too that Terry Funk was awesome, and Terry Funk is a guy that is up there in the 70s, so his prime was before you and I were probably even born.
He retired for the first time in 1983. That's the year I was born. So.
Me too. And he was the old guy in ECW winning the title. He was still hardcore, but he wasn't like a young pup like a Scott Hall was. And I feel like Scott Hall, even before Hollywood Hogan, who was the cool bad guy, Scott Hall was the first cool bad guy with Razor Ramon in WWF. He was a bad guy, but he was cool. Like, it was cool to like Scott Hall.
Right. I mean, there was, and just the whole presentation of Razor Ramon, he always had sick-looking gear, like matching boots with every set of gear that he had. Yeah. Just the whole, his whole demeanor, everything he did was just, I think Razor Ramon is the definition of that larger-than-life character that the WWF prided itself on creating. There's not too many guys like that were just like, I feel the total package as far as a presentation of a professional wrestler. And, it's just, you had Bret Hart, but, I don't even think Bret Hart, appealed as much as Razor Ramon did at the time. And, there's just something about that guy. He's always just intrigued me. I'm like a huge click mark because, that was like when the internet dirt sheets and all that stuff was emerging. That was the one thing that you always heard about. You heard about the click. So I'm just like a huge just fan of all of those guys. So I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a great opportunity for, especially people in the Cleveland area, even people that don't even necessarily come to AIW. I think people are going to come to see Scott Hall, meet Scott Hall, because, he did, for better or worse, impact a lot of people's lives, especially in the early 90s, even pre-NWO. I think there's a lot of people that recognize him, and they recognize him as a gigantic star in professional wrestling.
Now, for people listening to this podcast this week and probably next week, but is there ticket information where they can go to buy tickets? What is the way to get tickets to the show?
Right now, for the Scott Hall show, we exclusively release tickets through our email list, which I can't even tell you how to sign up for it, because it's like I have to send out a link and there's a whole sign up form. But basically, the best way to get any kind of early access to AIW events, this is the only way we sell front row tickets, is whenever you see us tweet out or send out a Facebook status with here's the link to sign up for our email group, our email blast, because we don't send it out too much, because we want to have those early adapters get the first crack at the front row tickets and stuff like that. We want it to mean something for those people that have joined right away and have supported us. So we don't send out the sign up information too often, but right now the Scott Hall December 18th tickets went exclusively on sale through that email link. We'll be releasing them to the general public at our online store, shop.aiwrestling.com, probably within the next week or so.
I have a question about this Vader story. So, what magazines did you give him that had the money in
it? I said I wouldn't do it.
Oh, you didn't do it?
No. So then I had to Western Union him some money, which he said.
Oh my God!
Which he said he did not receive it, even though
it says it did.
It said he did. So yeah, I can bury Vader to the end of the days.
I love Vader, man.
Oh well,
big Vader mark. He was
you send him $500. Send him some old not. Pro Wrestling Illustrated.
I thought you sent him some nudie magazines or something.
Come on, Playboy got rid of the new chicks.
That's true. But yeah, so you have two shows before the Scott Hall show.
I know, what a fucking idiot I am.
You have a show coming up.
This is our longest running annual.
Okay, even
Hell on Earth 11.
Oh, so even more than Absolution.
Yes.
So
this was the first annual event, which was named because I was watching the TV Guide channel and Hellraiser 3 scrolled by. Hellraiser 3, Hell on Earth, and I said, let's name that November show Hell on Earth, and here we are.
So Hell on Earth here in Cleveland. This is the Black Friday.
Yes, Black Friday is I want to say maybe this is our 6th Black Friday. That's something we tried just randomly one year, because my thought process was, everyone goes out and gets drunk on Wednesday night.
Right.
Everyone does family stuff on Thursday. People get up and they go shopping on Friday morning. And by the time Friday night rolls around, they've already seen all their friends, from out of town that were away at college or home visiting or whatever. They saw them on Wednesday. They've done all this other stuff with their family. They want to get away. So we decided to throw a wrestling event for everyone to go to, and it's worked out quite well every year. Knock on wood. I can't find any in this fancy new studio, but yeah. So it's the Black Friday tradition.
Yeah.
Every year after the day after Thanksgiving, usually if there's any sort of local celebrities that are professional wrestlers home visiting their family, they stop by for a little bit.
You get the Miz to come?
He says he's going to come every year, but
Give him a shout out.
who knows? You might have to shoot him a text.
Yeah.
But Dolph Ziggler has come several years in a row, and some other people who wish to remain nameless that were just rolling through town. But it's, to me, this is one of our best events that we've put together, top to bottom. Chris Hero's returning. Alex Shelley's returning, making a very rare appearance in the United States. So there's all kinds of, there's something for everybody, I think, on this card. We still have 2 matches still to announce that we'll be announcing in the next week or so. But, every show coming up, November 27th, December 5th, and December 18th, they all kind of have a little bit of a different vibe. We're trying to keep things different, and we don't want people to be like, oh, I can miss that one, I'll just go to this one.
Right.
We're trying to keep them all equally as important, and that's a very, very hard thing to do. You can ask guys that I have several group AIW office chats on Facebook, and I've rebooked and altered the lineups no less than 75 times because I'm trying to keep them different, and still looking at them as a fan to figure out I can't miss that one. Put stuff on there that just people feel like they can't miss. I think I've done a good job in making them all different.
And then you have No Sleep Till Brooklyn, which is December 5th, with Cole Cabana filming Wrestling Road Diaries 3. And this is a smaller venue, and you have Grado coming, who was here in AIW earlier this year. A big favorite. He has blown up even since his AIW appearance.
Signed with TNA, all kinds of
IWC champion. With
ICW.
I'm sorry. Going against Drew Galloway. So that's a big program with him. So he has really taken off. And I think when he came here to Cleveland, he was in the news for the whole Madonna, coming out Madonna and everything. That's just
Say yes,
happened.
Madonna, hashtag.
Yeah, that came out just before he came here to Cleveland. So now he's blown up. He's going to be back here. But very interesting show, because not only do you have a show going on, but you have Cole Cabana, a guy that has hundreds of thousands of downloads for his podcast, shooting his documentary here for AIW. That's be a big thing for you, because you're going to be in the movie for the 3rd time.
Yes, we're the only wrestling company that will be featured in all 3 Wrestling Road Diaries so far, which is something I'm really proud of, because if you go back and you watch Wrestling Road Diaries 1, you see a totally different company, and then in Wrestling Road Diaries 2, you see us evolve and grow a little bit more, and I'm hoping Wrestling Road Diaries 3 just shows even more of that growth. It's kind of a unique situation because Colt approached us about it, and we had already set our schedule, but we couldn't say no to being in the movie, so we're like, yeah, we'll have a show on December 5th, one way or another. And sure enough, our normal venue, Our Lady of Mount Carmel, was unavailable, so we had to scramble and try to find another venue, and we were able to secure this place in Brooklyn, Ohio, which is kind of crazy to me because Brooklyn, Ohio is a place I basically grew up.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate that it's probably going to sell out in advance because it is a much smaller venue than Our Lady of Mount Carmel. But at the same time, I think it's going to create a really, really crazy atmosphere. It's going to be very, very tight knit, very intimate setting. And if you come down, you're one of the 200-300 people that are allowed to actually secure a ticket. You're probably going to be featured in a documentary that's going to be seen by thousands of people all over the world. I mean, I don't know what's going on with the first one, but I know that Jamie Kennedy's production company, they secured the rights to Wrestling Road Diaries 1, and they were trying to give it a big release. That was, a while ago. So I don't know what's going on with that, but I know that, these documentaries are very, they're professionally made. It's not, some guy just trying to make a documentary for the first time. Colt, he hires legitimate filmmakers to handle the whole production, and he pays for it all. He puts it all on his credit card and gambles with it. But at the end, he comes out with a really good product. Wrestling Road Diaries 1 is, probably right up there with Beyond the Mat as far as wrestling documentaries go. It's really amazing. It features Bryan Daniel Bryan's final weekend the first time before he got signed to WWE. Yep. And everyone has a different theme, and this one's going to show that comedy wrestlers like Colt and Grado and Kikutaro. It's called Funny Equals Money, Wrestling Road Diaries 3, and it's going to show that there is a place for these guys, and what they do works all over the world. It doesn't just work in America. It works obviously in Scotland, and it works in Japan, and a guy from Japan can come to America, and what he does, his wrestling style, it works, and it engages a crowd. So I think that's going to be a really, really fun and different show. It's going to be much different than November 27th. Obviously December 5th is going to be it's going to be heavy on comedy wrestlers, and just crazy characters. Like, we have Cliff Compton coming back. He's going to be wrestling your favorite Frankie Flynn. We have Grado versus Tracy Smothers, which I don't think that there is a better match in the world.
Will there be a dance-off?
Is there going to be I think between Grado's entrance and Tracy's pre-match promo, I think we're going to hit the 3-hour mark.
Jeez, yeah.
So yeah, it's just we have all kinds of more fun announcements lined up for that. I will drop the exclusive, as I always give you guys one exclusive announcement. We will be doing Colt Cabana versus Kikutaro 1-on-1 at No Sleep Till Brooklyn.
All right.
So I'm personally really looking forward to that. I think that's something that it's Kikutaro isn't somebody that frequents America too often, and him and Colt have wrestled each other all over the world. So why not bring that to Brooklyn, Ohio, and give the AIW fans something really cool to see live.
Geez, buddy, you have a busy 4 or 5 weeks coming up.
I mean, it's awful. Like, I don't know why I do this to myself. Like, it's like,
especially holiday season.
It's torture. As soon as I said yes, Scott Hall, we will book you, I just felt like an ulcer forming in my body. Like, my whole body burns inside. But you know what? It makes you feel alive at the same time. There's no better gamble in the world than being an independent wrestling promoter. It's it's crazier than playing blackjack, or high stakes poker. It's stupid, but it just makes you feel like it's motivating, because I don't have a lot of money in my bank account, so I have to succeed one way or another.
Yeah. Shout out to Frankie Flynn. Birthday was yesterday.
Your boy.
Not my boy. Definitely not my boy. But shout out to him for happy birthday.
Big opportunity for Frankie Flynn on December 5th. Wrestling
look at
Cliff
him.
Compton.
Look at him. Feeding into the wolves.
Another test for Mr. Flynn.
Oh, boy. Has he passed every test thrown his way so far?
He at least is still breathing after Eddie Kingston. So
is Kingston coming back for any of these 3 shows?
He will be there on November 27th and December 18th, but he will not be there at No Sleep.
He's not really a comedy guy.
No, I felt that he would just ruin it for everybody.
Yeah, he would.
I'm trying to provide a nice, fun party atmosphere. I don't need Eddie Kingston coming in there and smoking Newports and just ruining everyone's fun.
Yeah. All right, let's go to WWE. You did do your research. I want to talk about a guy that you're very familiar with, a guy that you've booked before, Seth Rollins, Tyler Black, if you know him here in Cleveland.
What an awful situation for him.
This year has been great for him, but also has been kind of, it's been a roller coaster ride. His dick pic gets released, breaking up with his fiance, his new girlfriend gets fired for WWE for all these old tweets and whatnot. Then he wins the World Heavyweight Championship, which is great. Has a great year, one of the great acts of WWE, and then he blows his knee out and he's done past WrestleMania. So it's been an up and down year for Mr. Seth Rollins, aka Tyler Black.
That's it sucks because honestly, for him to break through that glass ceiling and be the guy in the WWE was such an accomplishment. And I'm sure he had his share of people that said no way, he can't do it, he can't carry the ball, and I think he was doing great. I think he was really coming into his own as a heel. The main guy on WWE television, and it just sucks that we'll never know what the story was supposed to be or how far they were going to go with it, because now he's gone for a year, close to a year, probably a year.
He is CrossFit Jesus, so it might be a little bit earlier.
But this opens up an interesting situation for WWE, and especially their programming, which I think everyone can agree has gotten a little bit stale as of late. This is at least given a reason for television. There's not just random matches for no reason. Like I said, I watched the Hulu Plus version today, and I'll have to say, at least the in-ring of what I saw in the tournament matches was it was really shocking, to be honest. It wasn't like you were watching a WWE. It was it seemed that they gave all the matches a decent amount of time, and they all had a purpose, and I thought all the matches on Raw as far as the tournament goes were all really, really good. They exceeded all my expectations.
Yeah, the four I think were great, even with Reigns and Cesaro. Cesaro has been stealing the show lately, and you had Ambrose and Ziggler, two guys that great wrestlers.
I thought Reigns and Cesaro, that especially just blew my mind, because Cesaro is one of the best all around professional wrestlers in the world, but Reigns was able to to hang with him a little bit, and I was really impressed with Reigns. I saw a lot of people mad that Cesaro won, but I don't know why anybody's shocked by that.
Reigns won.
Or that's what I meant. But Reigns won, and people were mad that Cesaro didn't win.
Right.
I don't understand why anybody was shocked by that. I mean, it's obvious that they've wanted Reigns to be, in at least the main event picture for, what, a year and a half, 2 years now, So for people to, be crying on Twitter because Cesaro lost, I mean, it was obvious Cesaro was going to lose. I don't think there was any question that Cesaro was going to lose. I think the whole point was to show that Reigns can hang, and I think they accomplished that.
And then you had obviously Ziggler, a great worker, with Ambrose, who's going to get a push. Who's going to get a push.
I was talking about this the other day. Isn't it amazing, like, how much they've dropped the ball with both Ziggler and Ambrose? If you think to what was it like when Ambrose was working with Rollins, like, what was it, like 2 Hell in a Cells ago? I mean, he was red hot. I mean, people were going bonkers for Ambrose, and it just seems like they kind of turned him almost into like a comedy guy. They had him doing
hot dog stands,
stands and stuff, and I think they killed that momentum, and he's just kind of been treading water for a while. And the same thing with Ziggler. Just think about when Ziggler cashed in on Del Rio, the night after WrestleMania. Yeah. I mean, he couldn't have gotten any hotter than that. I mean, that was like, one of the, biggest pops in wrestling in, recent memory. And like, he's another guy that they just, kind of, flipped around. And did nothing with, and now he's just kind of, Ambrose and Ziggler have just kind of lost their steam a little bit. So I thought for guys like them, especially, Rollins going down, this has opened up, at least a little bit of a door for them to, try to get back up to that level that they were at.
And with Ziggler too, I mean, he is involved in that stupid storyline with Rusev and Lana and Summer Rae, which really got nowhere. And he's a great worker, a great wrestler, great, knows how to sell very well. But I agree, they dropped the ball with him. But two guys, and then you have Neville and Owens, who have traveled indies, as Pac with Neville. Then obviously we know Kevin Owens' story. I think they had a great match, a great story in their time in the ring.
That was, I couldn't believe that, I was watching Monday Night Raw and they were allowing them to wrestle that style.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's going to be an interesting transition, especially with, Triple H shoving NXT down everyone's throats, that, that's going to be the style that's, eventually WWE is going to be forced to evolve into. And it was just mind-boggling to, be watching that match on Raw. And same thing goes with, Del Rio and Kalisto. They both, those are things that you don't expect to see on Monday Night Raw. So if this tournament did anything, it definitely opened up, the door for there to be good, long, meaningful matches, on Monday Night Raw, and not just filler bullshit for 3 hours. I think, obviously Neville and Owens probably had the best of the four, I think, in my opinion, as far as, the matches go. I don't know. I'm sure you didn't see this, but Not That Tom Green on Twitter, he wrote this giant blog kind of about the opportunity that, the WWE has to do something with this, Rollins injury. And basically his theory or his fantasy booking was, Reigns and Owens go to the finals and they do a double turn with Reigns joining, the Authority, and it turns Owens into, this stone cold like babyface, chasing the title to WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Which, I'm sure that's not what they're going to do. I'm sure that, the finals are going to be, the two Shield guys, I would imagine. But it would be very, very interesting to see Reigns turn heel, in my opinion, because I think that, with the crowd split so much, they just gotta,
go one way.
They just gotta go one way. Everyone will boo them. And
way back in, I think, December, we did a recap. Steve and I did a recap of the 2014 WWE, and we did our predictions for 2015. And we predicted who would be WWE champion in the year 2015. And one of my choices, we had like three people. One of my choices is Kevin Owens.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know if he'll be the champion.
But it's cool that he is that close from attaining it. He is in the running. He's in the Survivor Series tournament.
They could go, it would make sense for there to be a face and a heel in the final instead of it being face-face with Rollins and Reigns. So, we could see Reigns and Owens in the final. I just, I would say probably 100% Del Rio is not going to the final.
Yeah, I would say so too. And, they had given Del Rio a little push here because of the lack of Mexican, a buildup of a Mexican performer for WWE. With
got to get that South American money.
You got
man.
to with no Mysterio now. You got to get some somehow. So
those house shows, the attendance is down in the United States. They got to get that international money.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, I'm excited for this tournament to see how it is. I watched Deadly Games back in
Deadly Games.
Back was that 98?
Can we play? Can we pipe in the Deadly Games song right here?
I'll splice it in for you.
Yeah, that's fine.
But you had The Rock doing the turn.
Well, that's what Not That Tom Green was talking about on in his blog was Didn't The Rock turn and join the corporation at the end of the Deadly Game?
Yeah, he turned, Mankind versus The Rock.
Yeah.
And then Vince screwed Mankind. The same thing with the Multi-Raw
like
Screwjob.
this is what he kind of predicted, almost doing a similar thing. Which I encourage you to check it out.
Yeah, definitely.
Not that Tom Green, recent new friend of mine. I have all sorts of weird Twitter people. Got to give a shout out to my guy Words Big 80s too, because he's been mad at me lately on Twitter. So.
So looking forward.
That's my internet focus group right there.
Looking forward to Survivor Series. Looking forward to seeing this tournament. Watching Deadly Games, they had, I think, 7 matches from that night to crown a champion, and they had. You were right. It was different. It's different to have the matches on Raw because you're given more time. If they would have had these 4 matches on Raw and then the other 3 to finish the tournament out on the same night in Survivor Series, you'll probably see a lot of.
I will say though, I do feel that. They didn't put enough star power in the tournament.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I agree. No,
why is
Brock Lesnar?
Why is fucking Kalisto in the tournament?
Yeah.
Fuck that guy anyway. He still owes me $50 for a Megabus ticket. He no-showed me on. But seriously, why is he? No one thinks that guy's gonna win. Where's Lesnar? Where's Undertaker? Where's Kane?
Yeah.
Where's Bray Wyatt or somebody like that?
Right.
I think they could have put a little bit more star power in the tournament, to make people at least a little bit like this could go anyway. Honestly, this is probably an unpopular opinion. They should have had fucking Taker run the whole fucking thing and get one last run.
Yeah.
Because they're milking the guy for what he's worth while they can anyway.
I think they dropped the ball and not making it into a bigger tournament because you can start feuds with guys interfering and DQs and whatnot. You can start different storylines.
Why is Tyler Breeze in the tournament? He was in the tournament, wasn't he?
I
think he was.
Was he with?
I think he was in a first rounder with Ziggler, maybe.
Survivor Series tournament. Looking up right now.
But you know what I mean? Like, let's get some fucking. Let's go dust off some dude like. Let's get Goldberg in the tournament. That's what I would have done.
Well, TNA. Goldberg said that TNA offered him recently a one-time appearance on TNA. Goldberg to come out. Is there? I mean, I love Goldberg in WCW, but is he a guy I love to see now? Probably not.
They should have booked Scott Steiner.
Oh,
that's what they should have done.
They should book Scott Steiner.
You're telling me Big Papa Pump coming out on Raw, throwing his name in the hat? That would have got a lot of people talking.
They should have had. I mean, they should have had one-time appearances like Steiner, maybe like a Goldberg, come out and just
Queewee. What about Queewee? I got Queewee's phone number on my phone.
What about Frankie Flynn?
Frankie Flynn's not ready, man.
Frankie Flynn's not ready.
He's not ready.
Is he wearing pants yet?
Pants?
He has to wear pants.
You want him to wear pants?
He has to wear pants.
He's not wearing pants yet.
Well, he has to up his wardrobe.
Seriously though, they could have. WWE has. They could book anybody on the planet. Essentially, they're fucking putting Kalisto in their world heavyweight title tournament. They could have made the tournament a much bigger deal, in my opinion. Where's Val Venus at? Where's the Godfather? Steve Blackman. They should put somebody weird in there that wasn't Kalisto. Anybody but Kalisto.
You had Tyler Breeze versus Dean Ambrose. You had The Miz in there going against Ziggler. You had King Barrett, Neville, Owens. You had Titus O'Neil. What has Titus O'Neil done to deserve a chance in the tournament?
Listen, though, Monsoon Classic, another one of my Twitter friends sells the concessions at AIW.
Yes.
His dream match.
Oh, boy.
His dream match. He tells this to me, little known secret, when I go out flying for AIW, it's exclusively with Monsoon Classic. This is how we spend our Saturdays. We drive around and we pass out AIW flyers. And he tells me every single time his dream match is Titus O'Neil versus Brock Lesnar on Monday Night Raw. He says if WWE did that, he would be...
You could die a happy man.
He would go buy something from the Shop Zone to support them.
And then you had Reigns, Big Show, Cesaro, Sheamus, Del Rio, Stardust,
come on.
Kalisto, and then Ryback. And he had Ryback losing the first round. He just went to the IC title.
To Manny.
This tournament was a head scratcher. And like you said, they should
Let's
have
get
put
the fucking
Lesnar.
Taker in there. Let's
You
get
got Kane,
I mean, you know,
Bray Wyatt.
Bray Wyatt,
You could have had them as a first-round match.
Eugene.
You could have had Undertaker versus somebody and Bray Wyatt versus somebody.
I'm
Have
telling you, man.
Interference.
If Taker was in the tournament, I think even if he didn't win, they're milking this guy for all he's fucking worth. Put him in there, let people get excited, thinking he's gonna get one last ride.
And then have, Taker
Pun
in the
intended.
quarterfinals, and then Bray Wyatt interfere, costing the match. And you can go on your little Bray.
Anybody
versus
but Callisto, right? That's all
anybody.
I'm saying.
I agree.
Guy can't even pay me back $50 for the Megabus ticket.
What has Titus O'Neil done lately that makes him deserve to be in the tournament?
Not wrestling Brock Lesnar.
Not wrestling Brock Lesnar. The Miz, I can see, former world champion. He's not doing anything, which is disappointing.
Sandow. I mean, there's
Sandow too. Yeah,
there's a million people that they do nothing with that would have been more believable in the tournament than Tyler Breeze and Callisto. That's all I'm saying.
Put Zack Ryder in there.
Okay. Now let's relax.
Come on, what's wrong with Ryder?
Nothing.
Ryder or Riot?
He's back in developmental with Mojo.
Here's a question for you.
Oh, let's give you an answer.
You know how after WrestleMania there's always a cuts and there's always someone that gets cut. There wasn't any cuts this year yet.
No, because I heard from a very reliable source that WWE will not future endeavor anybody in the main roster anymore because it's bad publicity. They simply just let your deal expire.
So okay, well that's good, right?
Because they don't like the bad publicity because, they're always getting bad publicity over an independent contractor, lawsuits, and everything else. They just let it expire and they just choose to not renew you.
Okay.
Instead of actually firing you.
So,
because there's been NXT cuts, but there have not been main roster
there hasn't
cuts.
because
in,
usually
in
there's a spring cleaning after WrestleMania.
So I believe that my source on this story was very accurate.
Yes. So
It was somebody that was future endeavored, one of the last.
so if you, as an indie promoter that would like to go after a guy that gets released by WB, get him while it's hot, to come and perform, who would be a guy that maybe isn't featured on the main roster that much that would probably be a guy that you're interested in booking right away if they dig
Zack
him?
Ryder. He's got like 1 million Twitter followers.
Oh, poor Zach. See, that was at WrestleCon. They have a game, and one of the questions is, who would be at WrestleCon 2015 from WWE roster? And the winner was Zack Ryder, but he's still on the main. He's still there.
I mean, I'm shocked. You know what I mean? But if you think about the guys that aren't featured a lot, which is, I guess you can't say that about him that much because he's featured on NXT now. He's getting some time.
Oh, come on. Hype Bros. Come on.
But, I can't really think of anyone else that would be like, I want to book that guy.
Yeah.
Because, I could care less about, anyone's opinions of Zack Ryder's in-ring skill set or lack of, whatever your opinion is of him.
Good.
Fucking guy has a lot of Twitter followers. And,
People
it may sound ridiculous, but that is a factor in booking somebody because that is free advertising for your wrestling company.
I agree.
Essentially.
Yeah. And Ryder has a strong following, and people would love to come in to see him.
Oh, people would
line flock here. Yeah.
We would sell out of water hot dogs. At
Zack
AIW.
Ryder main eventing AIW.
Oh, main eventing. I don't know. Man.
Against Frankie Flynn.
I might give him. Might put him on before intermission. As long as he gives me 100% of his photo ops.
There you go.
That's my new deal now.
Yeah, that's what you're doing.
100% of your photo ops.
Oh, jeez. Anything else you want to chat about, man? We hit it all.
Let's talk. There's wrestling is just is weird right now. I mean, is anybody paying attention to TNA at all?
What's going on with TNA, man?
They have a tournament.
When is EC3 going to make his AIW return here?
We're in negotiations.
Oh, okay. So it could be before.
Before the end of the year.
All right. Give us a nugget here.
We'll see. There's nothing 100% yet, but we stay in contact pretty frequently.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But yeah, TNA is doing the same thing, a title tournament, but everyone seems to think that their television deal is expiring. So who knows what's going to happen there? Just weird. It's just weird times in professional wrestling.
What do you think about this Breaking Ground? Have you watched Breaking Ground on the network?
I do like Breaking Ground. I don't use my WWE network probably enough to justify how much money I've probably spent on it because I signed up on the first day.
Yeah.
I don't use it nearly as much as I should or whatever. I just don't have time, but I do go out of my way to make sure I watch Breaking Ground. And I wasn't that impressed with the first episode, mainly because they were trying to fire my girl Noof. That's what the whole first episode was about. But I think it's very interesting. Just obviously they're using it as a vehicle to get people over and kind of expose them to people. In a under the guise of a documentary reality show type of thing. But I think it's gonna work. Honestly, how many people really cared about Baron Corbin or anything about him? It's giving him some character depth.
Yeah.
Obviously WWE has figured out, how to make this kayfabe reality, that they've almost mastered this formula on Total Divas. Chandler Biggins thinks everything that happens on Total Divas is 100% real.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
I mean, you go to AIW training, you get a full recap on what's going on with
Sorry.
all the ladies.
Sorry, buddy. It's 100% fake.
Listen, it's an argument that you're not gonna win.
My goodness.
But I think it's a good way to give some of these guys some depth. Obviously, that's the kind of programming that's going to make the WWE Network worth it in the long run, more stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
That's a show that they could probably sell to some random network, but they won't.
No.
Because they want to drive you to the WWE Network because, they're definitely ahead of the curve because people are canceling cable in, astronomical numbers in 2015, and it's only going to continue to grow. So the WWE definitely has a backup plan as far as, where to go to see them. And I think stuff like that is going to keep people on the hook for, if and when cable television eventually totally collapses.
It was cool to see, obviously, Athena be on Breaking Ground. Obviously, she wasn't a big main feature, but you saw her.
Yeah, and that's the thing. They're like kind of easing, and then getting to see the tryout and
yeah.
Man, some of those fucking guys though on the tryout, I feel like I'm ready to go to the performance center.
What was up with that, man?
I mean,
I
felt like an Adonis compared to some of those guys. Next time I see Canyon, I'm just gonna say, "Yo, Canyon,
yeah,
hook me up, man, bring me down."
I know.
Fuck, I could at least go down there and embarrass myself a little bit better than those guys.
You had Britt Baker, who had her AIW debut. She was down there on Breaking Ground.
Yeah, she's been wrestling for like 3 months already.
Yeah, she's already down. What was up with that?
Yeah, I mean, hey,
she's contacts.
She's got good genetics, I guess.
Yeah, good. And then obviously,
Allison Kay was there.
Yeah, we saw her. Johnny Gargano was. I don't see him on Breaking Ground, but he's a guy that's been on NXT. Many appearances.
Isn't that great? I mean, and he's not signed to.
What is up? What's going on with Johnny Gargano with that?
You would have to do some research on this. Obviously, I think I've talked about this on this podcast before, but there was, up until late in the Attitude Era, you could book WWF talent on independents, do third party bookings. And like it's this weird thing to where WWE is like just booking independent guys like that and featuring them on their television, and then Johnny can go do whatever he wants on the weekend. It's a crazy time. I think obviously Triple H has a long-term, I'm sure, plan for doing this, but why are they going to spend all this money, to move guys like Johnny Gargano or these other independent guys down to Florida and pay them to train? These guys are ready to go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's actually just a phenomenal thing for these guys because they're featured on WWE television, even though it's on the WWE Network. NXT's watched by over 1 million people every week. And then, Johnny can go out on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday and accept independent bookings all over the world. And it's probably better than getting signed to an actual developmental deal.
Yeah, that's my question too, is because if Gargano does sign a deal with WWE exclusive, moves down to Orlando, and is part of the training, I mean, he's ready to go. He's ready. That would be kind of wasting his time. He would probably be getting paid less than what he would do, traveling as he does and merch and whatnot.
Right, because he could set his now. He could set his own.
But if he makes
everything.
If he, I'm not sure what NXT people make that have experience, but 50 grand a year, I'm sure Johnny's making more than that on his own through his own bookings and merch and whatnot. And if he makes the move down to Florida, moves away from Cleveland, Ohio, his home base for so many years, he grew up here, and Candice obviously would have to probably move down to Orlando with them. I mean, they don't want to split up. So I mean, it does seem it benefits Johnny because he can do what he wants, but he's also getting exposure. So maybe you think WWE is just waiting around saying, okay, well, we'll make you full time when we have something for you. We're not just going to bring you down and have you be in, all these training classes because obviously he's ready automatically.
I mean, it's just it's a crazy time. I would like to think that Triple H has a grand vision. I have my theories, but the only people that know are WWE. All I know is it's just a crazy time. For me as an independent promoter, I could go out and, at the time I could book, I booked Samoa Joe, who was being featured on NXT. I booked Johnny Gargano, who's featured on NXT. I can go book Rhino, who's featured on NXT.
Yeah.
I could book Tommaso Ciampa. They just, they just recently used quite a bit of independent girls, over the last few weeks, like Kaylee Ray, who's been in AIW before. It's very interesting time. For me, like, I love, like, if you go back and you try to find some of this lost footage from, the independence of the early 90s and things like that, or like, Japan, like Japanese companies used to be able to book WWF talent. And I just love seeing WWF talent outside of the WWF.
Yeah.
Like that environment. It's just, something that stands out from when I was a teenager. I've downloaded on LimeWire The Undertaker versus Hakushi in like Michinoku Pro.
Yeah.
It's just stuff like that. I don't know why it fascinates me, but it does. And I mean, maybe, we're going to move back a little bit towards that. There are no threatening, WCW-like companies at this time. WWE isn't sweating TNA. WWE isn't sweating Global Force. They're, they're not even sweating Ring of Honor. They're probably just annoyed with Ring of Honor. But, maybe we're going to move towards more of a being able to book that, because that, being able to use the WWE television exposure and star power and the machine can only, help the landscape of independent wrestling. What if I could book some dude that's featured on, Raw? What if I could book Kevin Owens if he didn't have a house show appearance? You know what I mean? Tell me the crowds would not go way up.
Right.
So who knows? Maybe I'm just totally off base and this isn't where they're going, but I could dream about it at least.
One event, I think it happened in early 2000s, was Vince and John Cena at, I think, Mr. Cena's, Father Cena's
that's
house
a little
show.
different story. That's Vince and Cena, but
the,
they did appear on an independent.
But still to see him in front of 200 people.
I'm sure there was no fee involved.
And Cena doing a AA to some big guy and Vince beating down some fat guy in the ring. I mean,
I think Mick Foley talked about it in his book when he was WWF champion. He accepted like an independent booking on like a Saturday night somewhere in Ohio, and then had to drive all the way to a pay-per-view match against Stone Cold Steve Austin the next day. Just crazy stuff. I mean, I would only hope that we can go back to days like that, but I'm sure they'll never totally be like that, but who knows, man, because I'm all about using that WWE
that WWE money,
yeah. I'm all about using it, to my advantage, because I got 3 shows to pay for before the end of the year.
AIWrestling.com is the website. Go to their Facebook, Absolute Intense Wrestling, Twitter as well. You can be alerted when tickets go available and on new shows, so make sure you like and or follow. Any final words there before we wrap it up?
Please buy tickets to 1, 2, or all 3 of my events at the coming up, because honestly, they are extremely expensive. It's extremely stupid that I'm even risking running these events, but fuck it, man. You know, people love pro wrestling, and I'm gonna give it to them.
There you go.
I'm here to give them what they want.
3 shows in the next 4 or 5 weeks here in Cleveland. AIWrestling.com is the website.
And if you're listening to this and you have a lot of money and you want to give it to me, I will kindly accept it.
There you go. John Thorne, AIW on Twitter. Give him a follow as well. Mr. Thorne, we appreciate you coming in. Late notice, filling in for the Steve Guy.
Steve Guy.
On Twitter. There you go.
What's he doing? Where's he at?
He's traveling. He's been busy. Our schedules don't match up, so that's why I needed you to step in today, buddy.
Are we gonna? Is it just me? We're gonna like pitch to like a Nick Gage interview or something?
Nick Gage. There's no interviews this week. Nick Gage. What's going on with Nick Gage? He's still.
Nobody knows, man. Nobody knows.
He's in jail, isn't he?
That is what is being speculated. He has disappeared.
What?
Yeah.
You can look online if he's incarcerated.
Hey, I'm not gonna say if he is or if he isn't.
Is he making an AIW appearance next three shows?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Oh boy.
I did donate to his legal fund though.
Yeah. Well, free Nick Gage. How about that?
Free Nick Gage. Let's get some T-shirts.
Yeah. Make some money off this.
Like, remember those free Yayo T-shirts?
Yeah.
Tony Yayo. You see me with 50 Cent over the weekend?
I saw that. What yeah, and Gregory Iron too. How'd you get the hookup for that?
It's my guy. We're in the G unit.
Did you really introduce him to Frankie Flynn?
Yeah.
No, you didn't.
I was rolling with 50 all night.
No, you did not introduce Frankie Flynn.
Yeah, I'm trying to get that vitamin water money, man. Frankie Flynn is going to be on the cover of 50 Cent's next single.
All right, on that note, we're going to wrap it up. Frankie Flynn's not going to be on the cover of nothing.
Yeah, it's called the Prince of Jamaica Queens.
All right, John Thorne, AIW on Twitter, AIWrestling.com is the website. Like him on Facebook, like it on Twitter as well, and you guys can be updated for anything Absolute Intense Wrestling here.
We talked way too much about the WWE. I feel like I'm gonna get yelled at by all my.
We did a half an hour of each, pretty much. This is an hour podcast, man.
I feel like I'm gonna get yelled at by all my independent wrestling.
It's all right.
Fans. I feel like I'm losing my cred, man.
You got cred. You're all right. Drinking that water, you'll be all right. Sit in the captain's chair.
Yes, sir.
Just take a photo right now, so you can.
No, I don't know. No photos. No media.
Okay. All right. Like I said, John Thorne AIW on Twitter. We will be back, hopefully live next week. Have a safe Thanksgiving if we talk to you after Thanksgiving. Look to follow me on Twitter. I'll be going to MizFest with The Miz on Wednesday nights before Thanksgiving. That's always a partaking in a very long night of drinking on the party bus. So look for that. And then look for interviews we've done recently. Terry Funk. We did Gregory Iron, a 2-part interview with him. 2-part interview with Blue Pants. We had Eddie Kingston. A whole list of interviews. Plus, we have Seth Rollins. We have Kevin Owens in our iTunes feed. So go to iTunes. This is Awesome Wrestling Show. Give us a rating and comment. Subscribe to us as well. So we'll talk to you guys the next week. This is Awesome Wrestling Show on CLESound.com.